And we are good to go, I believe. So, um, hello there. Hi. Thanks for waiting. This is the GVDS Showcase. I think it's number 8 that we're going to be doing. This is with Team Voice. We're going to be going through the circular economy of hydrogen. We have a number of people from the team on to basically present on not only their sprint, but what they discovered and what they created as part of the challenge. Our session will also involve Q&A, so if you have any questions for the team that you want to ask them, we are live right now on YouTube, as well as for the folks that are on Zoom that have registered for the event. You can ask those at any time during the next hour that we're going to be presenting, and then towards the end of the session, we'll get to those. And we're basically going to go into 3 steps. So first will be introductions, second will be the sprint and the challenge they took on, and third, we'll kind of go over the solution or the presentation that they curated and created as a team, and we'll answer a lot of questions along the way. So I think what we'll do is I'll start sharing my screen so that we can kind of have a visual to go by, and that way it'll kind of guide us on where we need to be. So, right. Just for on the team side, let me know if on your side you're seeing something that says GVDS Showcase Welcome. Is everyone on the team seeing that? All the panelists? Yay? All right. Okay, so we're going to go into introductions first. The way this will work is that basically you can, for the people that are on the call, I'll call you out by name and then tell us what you're all about, where you're geographically located, and something really interesting about you. And we'll kind of do that. So Lisa, you're first up. You brand yourself as a design and innovation consultant. Tell everyone what you're all about, and where you're located and what's really interesting about you.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Lisa. I'm from Vienna, that's where I'm located. I'm a UX designer and also design sprint facilitator, innovation consultant. And most of the time I'm running workshops of all different kinds of sorts. That can be a design sprint or design thinking, lightning decision jam and all that. And I like to mess around with the different formats. Yeah.
So how many workshops do you tend to do per month? Does it depend on the season, or is there an average around like maybe 2 or 3 a month that you're normally involved with?
Yeah, you cannot really tell an average. It has to do with the season. Also, I'm traveling a lot, and sometimes I just, contribute workshops at events as well. So yeah, it varies. Right now, it's kind of quiet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in December, it would be interesting because it's really busy for you, but yeah, that's okay. And give me something interesting about you that kind of maybe something that you do really well that sets you apart from other people in your field.
I'm super creative, and as I said, I like to mess with different formats and bring in left field methods, and we have also done that in the sprint a lot of times. So anytime where we wanted to create something innovative, I brought in things from marketing or even Instagram carousels, how to do them. And so I like to use different structures and just make them work for whichever thing that I'm working on. And also I like to land things super last minute, and then everybody is shocked, but it always works. Yeah.
I see. So you like the element of surprise.
Yeah, you could say it like that.
Structured surprise.
Structured surprise. Yeah, there you go. You can actually brand that, Lisa, and just be like, yeah, I'm all about structured surprise. But
I like that.
You're a cook in the design thinking kitchen. How about that? Okay, cool. Jürgen, you're up next. You've been known as an animation producer, but go ahead and give your introduction and something very interesting about you as well.
Yeah, I come from the animation film industry. I've been working in it for quite a while and have had quite a lot of output. But what mainly connects me with the GVDS, I'm very interested in problem solving, creative problem solving, design thinking methods, ideation. That's my spiel, and of course now the design sprint.
So where are you located, Jürgen? Where are you located geographically?
I'm in Hamburg,
Okay.
Germany.
Got it. And what's something that sets you apart from other professionals? What's something that you pride yourself in terms of something you do really well?
I remain very calm in situations of stress, of chaos.
Got it. So you tend to be very level-headed.
Yes.
All right. Well, That sounds perfect. I know a couple of situations where I wish I could have invited you to be present at some tense conversations I've had for the past a couple of weeks with clients, but that's okay. I'd rather you stay calm over in Hamburg, not get exposed to any of that stuff. So there you go. Andres, who I have seen a lot, like I remember seeing your face a lot when I was in online forums and kind of talking about design sprints early on. So I was thrilled that you were part of the sprint. Why don't you let everyone know what you're all about and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a product designer, but my background is industrial design. And for many years, I've been basically design agencies as creative director, art director. And then I jumped into strategy, design strategy, and I got into design sprints like 2 years ago, thanks to the guys in Berlin, the Design Academy. And then also I did the course of Agent Smart. And I've been trying to apply design sprints in my work, which is currently difficult, but I've been pushing because it's a typical IT consultancy, which is very big. So it's very bureaucratic, but yeah, I've been doing some workshops internally, and I've been doing for last year the Design Spring Meetup here in Madrid. I'm based in Madrid, and I've been doing once a month a meetup of design sprints. And yeah, it's been very successful. People like it, and I'm trying to grow the community here in Madrid.
So what's something that you do better than most in terms of like your work or just something that you're really good at? What would you like to put out there?
I think I do a lot of creative concepts. I think that's what I do best. Creative concepts. I've been doing a lot in design agencies, campaigns, all that stuff. So I think that suits me very well.
Got it. And since I
And
said,
now,
go ahead.
Yeah, and now I'm trying to mix, design sprints and for example, into the design flow.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
I think
Lisa
would probably have something to say about that in terms of like somebody kind of combining two different particular processes.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question for you, since you have Star Wars in the background. Are you tracking The Mandalorian with that particular series? Are you watching that at all?
Yeah, I've been watching that, and I think it's very interesting. I saw one of your posts in LinkedIn, I think, about this book.
Yeah.
You can't see it. They write it.
Yes, I am very big on that book right now.
I'm reading it, and I like it very much, and see also how I can incorporate that into the design sprints.
Yeah, that's something I'm doing in GVDS 4. So I'm going to be exploring how, so the showcase was a way of kind of publicly showcasing what people do in the sprint. So it just doesn't die or stay within the confines of the work that people did, and it's up to them to kind of do it. But for those that want to continue on, if they want a framework to kind of get it done in the long term, maybe something that does offline, where you kind of, you noodle on it and kind of work at it, but you could also execute against the market if it makes sense to do, then that's going to be something I'm going to highlight in 4, where based on Alberto Savoya's process, you can essentially test out to see if there's marketability in it. And if people want to continue, there's going to be an owner to continue it on. So yeah, that book's influenced me greatly. And I found out that he actually does design sprints and then prototypes over at the D School. So he teaches this. Oh. This is what he currently does, is that he does design sprints, and then what they do is they say, okay, now that you've done a sprint, go test in the market and see if people will buy it or people will sign up for it. so that it goes out of the realm of conceptualism and gets into like actual practical use.
Actual practical, yeah. I think that's very important.
Yep. So that'll be something that I'm going to formalize probably in the next stage. So for everyone else that's not here, maybe we can comment, since they're going to probably be watching this recording later on. There's Ian Thorne. Would anyone like to make any comment about Ian and what he does and what he contributed to the sprint?
Yeah, so I could do that. Ian was our lead facilitator for the sprint. So he was leading the design sprint, and he's a very dedicated designer, very detail-oriented, and also a very good and calm guy. So he always brought an element of calm and organized very well, and we could align very well throughout the whole process.
He has a certain happy energy to him, doesn't he?
Yes,
yeah,
sure does.
Eternally optimistic, and it's like every time I see him, he's just kind of like, hey, and like, all right, that's Ian. Go ahead. What were you going to say? No. Okay. What about Sabrina Gorich? She's somebody that's been part of the GVDS since the pilot back in last year around this time. What were some of the impressions you guys had of her and what she brought to the sprint?
I think she brought her knowledge, which I think was very helpful in certain parts of the design sprint where we're kind of, I don't know, probably lost or something. And she brought her knowledge, and I think it was very helpful. So
got it.
She was also very helpful in details. It's not that she only gave advice. She really dug in when it meant doing things, contacting people, and doing user interviews and commenting on elements, for example, in our presentation.
Yes, Sabrina was really helpful and really great. And sometimes it felt like there were 3 Sabrinas with the amount of knowledge and action she put into the whole thing. So she's all in the best way.
Yeah, she's always struck me as somebody that's not only foundational to a sprint, but just has this ability to like move in a versatile way from like section to section or responsibility to like activity, where it's either it's SME interviews or it's process or it's something else. She's been in this space long enough where she kind of knows where things need a little bit of correction or could really be enhanced. So, yep, that sounds like Sabrina. How did Alex Bach kind of engage the team? How did that turn out?
Lisa?
Yeah, so he has a background of marketing, and he's a very cool, interesting guy. So he brought in a lot of knowledge from his field. He's super interested and super motivated. Unfortunately, he's sick right now. He really wanted to come, even though being sick, and we decided that's not a good idea. But yeah, super cool guy, and even and very innovative in his way of thinking. He even told me that he just founded a company with an 18-year-old business partner. And this is just amazing. I love his approach, and he has a great energy as well.
And he's not afraid of big ideas. He likes to think big, and sometimes it's amazing.
Yeah, I got that impression about Alex too, and I've only had a few impressions of him so far, but he seemed to be somebody that was like out of the box thinking, or at least was very, very visionary around how he kind of saw things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Jürgen, what's your impression of Gia with how she was?
Gia's,
go ahead.
Gia's very bright, very charming, a lot of energy, and sometimes she comes up with her background in design thinking. And sometimes there's clashes between the design thinking concept and the design sprint concepts with regard to the empathy part. But it's amazing how right she is in a lot of her suggestions. So sometimes this the caging in of the design sprint is something that restricted her her options.
Okay. And what about Michael? Let's say, Andres, what was your, how did Michael kind of interact with the team?
I think he also had good ideas when we were in the design sprint. He also what I saw, he likes to illustrate very much. So he was a key player doing the presentation also. Although we didn't use finally his illustration, but I mean, he did a great job.
He did a great job, and he did it iteration after iteration after iteration.
Yeah.
So you put a lot of work.
Patiently, without complaining.
Yeah, change this and then this and put this and that, and he did it with no problem.
Michael was one of those professionals that threw himself into the process and like literally said, "I'm going to sign up for 16,000 virtual sprints." I'm like, dude, you're gonna break the space-time continuum. You got to calm down, because that's but I mean, he wanted to get involved, so more power to him. But I'm glad he worked out with his team in terms of like what he was able to contribute. And Lisa, what was your impression of Teresa?
Teresa is great, very complimentary, very like super intelligent, super analytical person, and super great with facts, straight to the point, and a lot of knowledge, a lot of things that are running in the background, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, great contributor, and completely a different personality type, you know, for me. So very interesting to explore and get to know further.
Yeah. Plus, she was brand new to design sprints. I don't think Teresa's actually, this is her first foray into it. I always wonder how people take to the process, especially if they're new, but they come from a really rich background that's complementary, but not necessarily direct. Anything else that anyone on the team would like to say about people who are not here? Anything else that we may have missed or you didn't get a chance to speak on? You can even say something about the people that are on the call as well. I mean, we're going to be going to it later on, but feel free. It's open at this point. No?
Yeah, we were just a really amazing team, and we went a lot of extra miles together, and the commitment was amazing, despite time zone differences and sicknesses, because it's winter. Everybody showed up, and at the end of the day, we all made it work and really got to know each other very well. I think so. I'm really proud of us. Yeah.
And when I assemble these teams, I'll admit something that sometimes I assemble these teams with the best of intentions. So sometimes I go, okay, I sometimes wonder myself, okay, are they going to get along? Is it going to work? Because there's always the possibility when you mix so many different types of personalities and points of view that you hope that the professionalism of the dynamic professionalism comes through and people work in the same space properly. So it sounds like this worked out really well. So I'm happy.
Worked out really well.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so let's get right into the sprint itself and kind of like the idea. I'm going to be reading kind of what I see, but at any point you can interrupt me and just say, by the way, I've got something to say about this. And I will probably also call upon a couple of you to kind of fill in some perspective on what's on the mural board here. So the big idea that you guys started with was promoting the concept of circularity. And I think when I was doing the promo for your team, I remember it going into how the idea of certain business models for mobility industries were a bit lax in that they have to kind of think about how they can better impact their, like, all sorts of aspects of their business by getting a bit more circular, whether it's new technologies, business, or jobs, and otherwise. So when you were kind of going through your journey in kind of landing out the sprint questions, the long-term goal, and the how might we's, maybe this is a good entry point for you, Lisa, in terms of kind of how that conversation started and how it kind of evolved over the course of the sprint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were putting down a lot of ideas. For me, in the beginning, it was a very fuzzy process because it was my first virtual design sprint ever. I gotta say that, and yeah, we put down a lot of different ideas, and essentially it was about really comparing what the options are out there, and making sure it's not just focused on hydrogen because we chose this as a topic, but actually really comparing and looking into how are these things solved right now, and how can we basically trigger a conversation. So this was the most important thing, to start a discussion about this. And we also interviewed very controversial people, people who are completely from different fields, who swear by electric cars, for instance. So this was very interesting.
How did the folks that were very pro on electric cars take to the concept of hydrogen? Did they sense it was a threat, or was it just an alternative? Jürgen, when you were kind of hearing the background in that, like, what was your impression?
Basically, there was one subject matter expert who completely rejected the future for hydrogen. And both in the small car sector as well as in the other large car sector, basically he expected a demise of it. And I felt that it was a bit one-sided view, especially because some of the factors that he mentioned were factors that were specific to his driving in a battery electric car also. The convenience of being able to charge it yourself at low cost at your home, not having to go to a filling station and other elements. And I felt that the potential and the necessity to include hydrogen in the mix, and in the long run include it significantly, was not reflected. So that we felt there's something we have to do.
Do you felt that there's beyond the subject matter expert interviews, that there's, I saw a couple of the can we's and the how might we's go into presenting hydrogen as an alternative to electric, where there doesn't have to be a winner per se, but there just has to be a choice. Was that part of the conversation that you were having internally about hydrogen? And like, was that a consideration in terms of what you were moving forward with?
Yes, because we don't only think it is a choice, we think it is a necessity. There will have to be a mix. If you look at the need to meet the 2-degree target of the Paris Agreement, it will only be possible to meet it if we reduce combustion engines largely out of the equation, and then it leaves only electric cars, be it battery electric or be it hydrogen cars. But battery electricity is very good for the small cars, efficient and works well. And if you have one of these small smart cars, there is no option to it. I don't think there will ever be an option in the near future. But when it comes to larger cars, trucks, buses, it is very well an option, because the larger the vehicle, the larger the battery. Mm-hmm. And it's significantly larger and significantly heavier. And it is at least 10 or 20% of the payload that is lost if you have a battery electric car instead of a far lighter hydrogen car. So the cost of weight and the reduction of payload will significantly influence which of the two options to choose in the long run. So if I had to have the choice, and I actually do, I think it's very wise to invest in hydrogen companies in the long run, if you can leave it for 20 years.
Yeah. And then your long-term goal will kind of corresponded to hydrogen going green, like basically the production of hydrogen as an alternative fuel will be much more environmentally friendly. Was there any particular reason why the nature of producing hydrogen was the long-term goal that you chose in relation to the other questions that you had posed with your sprint questions and how might we's?
That's probably something also influenced by the European view. We feel quite bad that at the moment the production of hydrogen is to such an extent based on non-green sources.
Mhm.
And as soon as it's completely based on renewable energies, the production of hydrogen, it's much easier to sell. At the moment, what we hear is, look, if you produce it by fossil fuels to just get hydrogen, it a little bit backfires. But as soon as it's produced purely from renewable sources, then it can really show its advantages.
Okay. So let's get into the solution sketch itself. And for those that are not familiar with design sprints that may be watching, basically at some point, the team kind of does a little bit of iteration around their ideas and starts telling a story about what they feel would be an optimal solution. The team kind of votes on it, centers on a few elements, and it looks like there's one here that says, "Welcome to Hydroland." That was basically the basis for what they were going to do their presentation with. So let's, Andres, let's kind of start with this and that. Well, actually, who was the person that created this, that came up with this particular sketch?
That was me.
Oh, Lisa. Okay. So Andre, hang on.
Yeah.
Because then we can go into the presentation and what you had created. So Lisa, why don't you go into the solution sketch a bit and kind of what you created and what you were thinking about?
Yeah, so essentially while we were in our sessions, I parallel started drawing, and I had 3 crazy ideas, and I thought, why not put all the crazy ideas to a very big and bold idea together in order to really have something that we can, you know, like nourish ourselves from. So I created this very bold idea that people who thinking they would have an H2 hydrogen car already, that they would go charge. And what happens then, you know? And then I came with my element of surprise thingy. So I just wrote, cool, people want to charge their hydrogen car and they're looking for a gas station. And as they do, they're making a discovery. So, and in the second part, if you can scroll down for me, thank you. Suddenly they discover something really bold and crazy, and it's like Disneyland, but it's called Hydrogen Land. And so there's a huge mountain in the center, which is like a factory for hydrogen production, like a power plant. I even thought about a volcano with green light, you know, to show that we're sustainable and all that, put a lot of trees on it. Then at some point we had in a discussion that there would be a way to recycle, while recycling wastewater, there could be an H2 production, hydrogen production. So I made sure I included a hydrogen fountain, you know, basically using the toilet water from people to create hydrogen. And I was just really playing crazy with the whole idea. And I thought, why not, you know, we want to raise awareness. We want to start the conversations. Why not make something really crazy and really bold, and also make it fun and green, and include, you know, something, a place to hang out at the gas station for the whole family, with solar power and wind energy and anything to produce the hydrogen in a sustainable way. Yeah, and then the Big Bang. I thought this is going to be so good that there's going to be a newspaper like the Hydro Observer, and they're going to, you know, say that China even built a replica. That's how good our hydrogen land is. And
Yeah, it's only good if the Chinese copy it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought about people on the streets marching, and Greta having a speech about it, you know, and being all proud that we're 80% hydropowered. And I even thought about why would she not, you know, as a next step, build her own hydrogen car to brand together with Leonardo DiCaprio. So I went really crazy and nuts. And yeah, I thought that there would be a lot of elements that we could use further down the process. That's why I did it.
I really like the idea of the Hydroland being part of like an actual hydrogen processing plant, so that it's literally you're seeing the process in action while you're doing like a looks like a wild joyride around an erupting hydrogen volcano.
Museum where you can charge your car and hang out with your whole family. That was the point. Yeah.
And it has to have Wi-Fi. I mean, that's a given. But yeah,
Sure does.
I figured when you were drawing this, you kind of just said, well, it's assumed in this day and age that that's just what's going to happen. Okay. Now, the 2 outcroppings from this particular solution sketch, one was a multimedia presentation that I think Andres had created. but I know there's also a PDF. And is that, Lisa, is that's what linked here? Is this is the PDF?
Yeah, well, I didn't link that here. I shared it on our Slack and our Basecamp, and I could also do a screen share with my keynote presentation on here direct and show it. This is just a JPEG in there.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and do that? I'll stop my share. And if you want to, you can share your screen, or I can share it on my end. What would be more convenient for you?
I think if I share it myself, then I can click myself, and that would be a little more convenient.
Got it. So you go ahead and do that.
All right.
And it should bring up your sharing your site once you start sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Just a moment. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's our presentation here. GVDS Showcase. We did our design. So our team is called Team Voice, and we did our sprint from November 18 to 22. And the topic was circular economy of hydrogen. And we made the decision to actually produce a pitch presentation because we wanted to validate if we could actually show this idea to somebody and if they would be willing to invest, you know. So we want to test with this if the pitch itself is effective, if this concept that we have makes sense. And so I would start with the presentation right now. Can you just move our faces because the presentation will not be shown completely, I think.
Sure, hang on a second.
Is this me or is this you? I'm not sure.
I think, well, no, the faces only appear on your end. So you can actually, you can minimize those.
Then I'm just gonna proceed. All right, Hydrogen Land is our project title, and we want to fuel a sustainable future for 2020. And we want to create a world that's carbon-free, that enables carbon-free mobility and is using only clean tech and provides sustainable energy sources in the form of hydrogen in this case. Why are we doing this? We're a strong-minded cohort of experienced business designers. So that's actually our team that we've been working with, that we have introduced before. And we're aiming to use our skills together with the superpower of the design sprint, which is the method that we've been using during the GVDS. And we want to speed up the turnaround to zero emission and carbon-free and a carbon-free energy future. So this is our goal. And by using hydrogen and the power of the design sprint, we want to achieve this. And so as we address the possible investor, we were talking to quite a few people that we would like to get feedback on about this, and they should invest. So what they could do is become one of the world's sustainability leaders on here and actually help secure the future of our children and really demonstrate with this pilot project, the Hydrogen Land, that would have to be built once, you know, as a pilot. And like that, they could demonstrate that it's actually possible to integrate sustainability and mindfulness and also making a profit at the same time, which is kind of a very cool, unique combination with project. So the possible impact as an investor, as a leader in this hydrogen movement would be to become a world leader, because you would be investing in the first project of this kind and to actually really boost the economy with all the different elements that are in there. And of course, secure the sustainable future for the next generations by making this huge shift in a very big and massive project. And so what is the business opportunity in here? First and foremost, we could connect different players and create a whole network of hydrogen with this project and create more and more hubs and hydrogen lands like this and really fuel the economy like that. And also, we would bring different players together and foster innovative collaboration by this, and really rapidly improve research and development, because there are different scientists involved in the team and different investors, and by actually bringing that together, that would really improve R&D. And of course, by making such a huge Disneyland type of project, we really would have the chance to attract people and inform them, and also increase the visibility and awareness with this project, because it's so big, you cannot overlook it. It's out there. And at the same time, lastly, by investing, the person who chooses to invest could really show that they're socially responsible and that they really care about the future and the environment and doing something big here. So yeah, then we made a comparison. How would our world look like with hydrogen with this project? Jürgen, do you actually want to talk about this? Because you have been bringing a lot of info here.
Yeah, we compared a world where hydrogen is very prevalent and a world that tries to do without hydrogen. Using hydrogen makes a lot of sense because it is just the most abundant element on Earth. And whereas the other alternatives require the constant search for diminishing fossil resources, be it the resources for combustion engines or be it lithium for batteries. The other juxtaposition was you have the option of using a process with only outputs electricity and water, clear water that you can use to drink or make tea of, on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have exhaust fumes that can be toxic. The other juxtaposition is using fuel with the highest content by highest energy content by weight. And the other alternative is using inefficient combustion engines that waste a lot of the energy because the energy efficiency of combustion is very low. The world with hydrogen enables to attain the 2-degree Paris Agreement goal. And there is no chance if hydrogen is not used to meet the 2-degree Paris Agreement goal.
Okay. So, and now we have a video that was produced by Andres.
You're going to see how the video actually comes across in streaming.
So that was our image video. And this is what it could look like. This is a first idea of the elements that would be important to include. Of course, this whole park should be 100% sustainable. It's an energy park, not just a fun joyride park. It has solar panels, it has wind energy, and of course provides information about hydrogen. So it also includes the Knowledge and Research Center. It informs the public that it's also, charging their cars and having fun, but also learning about hydrogen. And on the bottom, of course, we see the famous fountain that recycles the water. So yeah, so this is our pitch. Please come invest in Hydrogen Land, where purpose, sustainability, and profit meet. Join us now in changing the face of how we live and how we do business.
So Lisa, I have to ask you the question. Are you going to, after this is done, is there an idea that you're going to put this into YouTube so that there's going to be a counterpart where even if there isn't like something official, that it looks, breathes, and acts like an actual presentation about Hydrogen Land, as well as the presentation itself? Because I think between the quality of the presentation you have here and what Andres did with the sizzle video, I think it can almost live as a presentation piece that kind of like, typifies what happened in the design sprint, but can also live on. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would be up for it, but I think it's something we should also discuss in the team, and it was a team effort, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely have to follow up on this one.
I'm not leaving Jürgen out of this. I'm just getting an opinion. That's all. That's the last thing I want to do is isolate anybody on teams like just you two, nobody else. No.
Wouldn't there be copyright issues?
Yeah.
Because we did it, of course, as a prototype.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a prototype, and it's, I don't know if it's copyright issues.
Well, you can certainly find out by putting it out there. Nothing else. You want to cease and desisting on YouTube. You won't get a strike on your account, but then.
Well, it has your logo on it, Robert.
I'm okay with that. I'm fine with the negative attention. It's just like, what do you think you're doing? It's like, well, yeah, I'm talking about ideas, not necessarily stepping on any feet. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, cool. So wonderful presentation. And also I guess we're going to link to the video as well in the show notes on YouTube when we eventually do things. Or if you want to keep it in-house until it's ready on the team level, we can do that as too. But I'm going to go back to, if I could, to resharing my screen, and we'll go back to like the main presentation deck. Let's go to this one. So what I'm looking at here, and I'm kind of glossing over the user interviews, but there were 3 particular questions that were asked after it's all said and done, and I'll assume that this kind of reflects at least thinking on the surface level of the team in terms of, did the prototype answer the sprint questions, and it did answer the main questions. In terms of the prototype, properly address the long-term goal of like 80% green production of hydrogen. Wasn't really sure. Do you think we addressed the challenge we took on as a team? And it looks like the general consensus is yes. Are there any comments about any of these particular questions?
No.
Nope. Okay. I'll move over to the right, and this is kind of like the landing spot for the highlights of what had happened. I do have a few team photos that people put here that basically go into how everyone worked through the sprint. I noticed some of the books where everyone got their favorite book or something else that they're reading. Another one was more books. the hat. I do remember this one. This one stuck out to me with Ian basically like chewing on the time timer, other things. But yeah, it looks like at some point you guys were doing. That's a Michael with the horse. Basically, that you had a lot of people on the calls at different times. But I'll go through the highlights, and then you can comment on those and let me know if there's anything you want to add to them. Lisa, I'll start with you in the sense that you wrote here that you connected with a great team and learned a lot about fully remote design sprints, timekeeping, and team alignment. You're looking forward to the next time we do this in the spring. Is there anything else you want to add to this? Or that summarizes it pretty well? Or am I disconnected? No comment, Lisa? No? Okay.
I can hear you.
She talking? No, she said, oh, okay, I got it. I wasn't looking at the video, that's why. I was just looking for the voice. Okay, never mind, my fault. Let's see here. Andres, you wrote that I came with my doubts on how virtual design sprint would work, but after going through the entire process, I now know it works perfectly thanks to all the teams for making it happen. Anything you want to add to that, or is that pretty much self-explanatory?
No, I think for me it was a great experience. Like I said, I had my doubts, especially with the time zones, but I think, Robert, you organized it very well. I mean, all the people here were most in the same time zone, except I think Michael. Michael was in Australia.
Teresa. Michael and Teresa.
Yeah, so they were, that was challenging for them, I think. But overall, I think I like it very much, and I'm willing to do the next one.
Cool. Okay, thank you for that. Jürgen, you wrote that it was a really amazing sprint team and a terrific learning experience. It was enhanced by my instruction as well as Sandy's templates. You're looking forward to the next one in the spring.
Yes.
So anything else you'd like to add to that? Because it's, I mean, it's very complimentary, I think, but anything else you want to add? I'll put it that way.
No, basically that's it. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and the team was great.
Okay, cool. So I'll mention a couple of the other ones. It looks like Sabrina put here that she learned so much in the last 4 weeks. It was a great place to try out different approaches and see different people acting. Running design sprints face-to-face is a wonderful experience. Running them remotely is an innovation weapon these days. So there's Sabrina's thoughts. Ian wrote here is that it's an amazing team facilitators looking to help and learn how to approach the exercises during the sprint. He learned a lot. Over here with Teresa, she said she really enjoyed learning the sprint process virtually and meeting great people. And finally, we have Alex on here where I said it was an unbelievable time with people I was delighted to sprint with and learn from. My highlight was the map exercise, and you're looking forward to the next one. Okay, so all the pressure's on me to make this thing work next time around. Not to screw it up and make sure people enjoy it. All right, fine, I'll take it on. Okay, so we have a few minutes for Q&A. Let me just double check and see if anything's been coming through since we've been talking. I know there was a couple of them.
Yeah, I think there's 2 questions.
Yeah, Nora Scully, who was part of some other virtual sprints, she asked the question of how would the hydrogen-powered transport be different than an electric or bike car like pod ride? And I'll click on that, see if it brings up in the share, which I believe it does. So this is what she's referring to. 4-wheel all-weather e-bike that looks like a car.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think this would be feasible with a truck or bus.
Yes, although it's I see many a TikTok video being created with this thing over time, especially the bumper car version of that car. So then there you go. But anyway, her question was, how would the transport be different from this one? You think, Jürgen, you're saying there would be pretty much two different experiences.
Yes, it's not human powered. It would be very different. It would be much faster. Okay,
yeah. Although it looks like you could trick out on this one pretty well, depending on if you wanted to do wheelies or ride on one wheel. Have any of you ever seen that? By the way, I'm going deviating. Have you seen the video of the car that was built in like 1950 or 1960, where it was only 2 wheels, but it had some gyration, a gyration system that basically kept the balance of the car? There were only like 10 of them made, but I'll have to link to it later. I won't go off on a tangent. She also asks, all the things in the video would be hydrogen powered, even the VR goggles. How does the VR goggle experience figure into the idea? She's curious.
Well, yes, all the machines and the attractions will be powered by hydrogen. There's a case in the States that Six Flags is all they made a solar farm, and it's all powered by solar. So in this case, in the hydrogen land, everything will be powered by hydrogen. And the VR, it's just education, so that people can see in a virtual reality how hydrogen is created and how it's converted into energy.
Mm-hmm.
So they can understand. It's more educational.
So does that, when you were thinking of Hydrogen Land being all things hydrogen, are you also talking about the cooking process for like people that have vendors that are doing things related to cooking, like food, different types of food? I'm assuming that would that be gas powered, or would it also be hydrogen powered ovens and grills?
I mean, everything should, the idea is that everything should be powered by hydrogen.
Okay.
I mean, it's not, you're not going to use hydrogen in the stove, but everything should be powered by hydrogen.
Got it. And the people that are watching on YouTube is Daniel and Haron. Haron basically said hydro-powered design sprints. And he also says, is it not easier to repower existing theme parks with hydrogen instead of developing them from scratch?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good question.
because you just mentioned about the electric farms up where they're related to Six Flags, but
Yeah, for example, Six Flags, they changed, they went out of the grid and they built the solar farm, and they're now being powered by solar energy. So yeah, why not? We could have like a production plant of hydrogen to do the energy supply, and you can put it in actual amusement parks. Great idea.
and Jerome and Daniel are both very complimentary about both the format of the presentation and the video. I agree with them. I think both of them were of really high quality and speak to both of your abilities to create something that's both visually appealing and informational at the same time. I'm trying to look see if there's anything else that came through. I think we've pretty much exhausted everything, but let me just double check. Maybe as a final closing part of this, we can get into anything else that you'd like to add about either the challenge or the process that you'd like to leave with as kind of closing on the showcase. I mean, if I guess maybe one of the things I always look at are the retrospectives that correspond to how the sprint was done and how I can improve upon things. So if you could, and this may be kind of retreading the retrospective ground, but if there's one thing that you could change for the number 4 that you would definitely like to see happen, what would that be? Like what change would you want to see for next time?
For example, I saw a little bit of confusion is, I know that, we were testing it, but for example, we had the Slack channel and then the Basecamp. So like, I don't know, we had like too much information. We didn't know where to look at. So I think for the next one, we should stick or to Basecamp or to Slack or to whatever.
Just do one. Make a choice without splitting the both of them. Okay.
Yeah, because having 2 was too much mails, too much notifications. So I think it could be improved.
For security reasons, we doubled up. Every message that was in the Slack chat was also in Campfire from Basecamp.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my fault. I was just an experiment to see if it would be easier to organize things based on some comments I was hearing about the overall noise factor, but it sounds like just amplified it by giving 2 different platforms for the same thing.
Yeah, but starting earlier with Basecamp would be optimal.
Yeah.
I'm a long year user of Basecamp.
I think it's better.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah, Slack is probably good for generational GVDS. So version 1, 2, and 3. Basically, it can be like a general kind of thing, kind of like the Facecamp, the Facebook channel is, but Basecamp is isolated strictly to the project, and that it kind of lives and breathes in that environment. Okay, Lisa, what about you? I know that I'm really curious to hear what you would like to see improved for number 4.
Yes.
Is she on mute or is it her microphone?
We can hear her.
Oh, I can hear her. Can you hear Jürgen?
Yes.
Really?
I can hear her.
What the heck? Lisa just doesn't want to talk to me. I don't know. I don't know why it's not coming across. All right. I'll pair it up to something that Zoom's not doing properly. So it's nothing you're doing, Lisa. It's just we just can't talk to one another. I don't know what it is. C'est la vie. I'll figure that out though. Write it in chat if you could. Maybe that's a good way of doing it. It's like a compromise. Jürgen, since I can hear you, what would you definitely like to see different for number 4?
I would second Andres with the Basecamp, the early introduction of it. And I think we as a team lost a little bit time in the problem framing phase. Because we picked a very sizable category, the circular economy, and had to chop it down. But that is nothing you could avoid. Next time when we pick something, then we should see that it's perhaps not so big, because getting it down to the hydrogen economy, it took some steps, and perhaps
yeah. So maybe this is, and Lisa's writing in here about, you know, I think you're seeing this too, that team alignment availabilities were tricky, that user testing was problematic just because of the time constraints. So it's probably good for y'all to know that I said this in the last session, that I'm thinking about changing up some of the methods within the virtual sprint process. After doing 2 GVDSs, I'm starting to see certain things like making a map and Crazy Eights and other processes that can probably either be refined or outright replaced by things that are much more efficient and probably align better in a virtual space. But that's going to take a little bit of experimentation. And Lisa, I know, given that you kind of play in the creative space a bit with kind of mixing things and methods, I'd be keen to get your opinion, at least the first blush of what I'm thinking about doing. So I may circle around and give me some thoughts on what I'm doing, so that, and not to discount what other people on the call would think, but I am going to probably publish a couple of things that I've been noodling on with fractal pathing as an alternative to Crazy Eights, where it's like a spider. If you can visualize a spider web, your main idea is here, and instead of just drawing in a Crazy Eight fashion like your idea overall, you actually take a component and you basically spider web it out, and then based on those 4 or 5 iterations, you circle the one you like the most, and you bring that back in, and then it's a new version, but it's like improves the entire thing all the way around. So again, I'll circle back around with you and talk to you about it at some point, and everyone else will see it too. But that's I want to mention that early, because there's a whole bunch of inputs coming in, and I'm already thinking about, okay, how am I going to structure this? But I need to go back into the data and kind of look at what people have said. Okay, so I guess for a final kind of sending off is that it sounds like the team's going to, given available time, will probably continue iterating on this or moving forward in a fashion where you're going to talk to other people about it, see what they say, potentially make this. I would love to see this as like even copyright issues aside, never all the people will go, I don't like what you've done there. This is like, I would like to see it live as some sort of formal presentation until it's, as somebody says, okay, you have to take it down, because I would promote the crap out of that thing, going, look at what this sprint team did. This is what Andres did. This is what Jürgen did. This is what Teresa was involved with. I would, you know me, I love to promote other people. So I would definitely make it front and center. Usually at the end of these sessions, we have kind of like a last group photo for the showcase. Given like what we've been talking about, I don't have a particular theme, but if any of you have any ideas, feel free to mention something. I know we have a Star Wars background with Andres, and I don't know how virtual. Lisa, you have an idea? Yeah, you guys ought to tell me what you're saying.
The next sprint is going to be number 3 or number 4?
4.
This will be number 4.
Oh, great.
Oh, there you go. Virtual environments. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Okay, but now I'm gonna have to need some help, because I have too many to choose from now. So I could go with unicorns, which is one of the ones that seems to go well with other people. Or if you want to get even cuter, then we can do like the cat, where it's like, we're both doing this. So I think I'll stick with I'll go with the cat, since it's simply I could do like the posit and just do it that way. All right.
My graphic card doesn't support it.
It does. Oh, your graphic card does. Oh man. Is there anything? Can you put a towel behind you? And that's okay. We can just basically, Jürgen, you're good enough as you are. You don't have to do much of anything. The backdrop is perfect. It just looks like if there's another room behind it, we just go into the mystery of it. Okay, so one last group shot with a smile. Are you ready? 1.
Yes.
Or, well, my thumb's disappearing. 3.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much for being part of the GVDS this time around.
Thank you, Robert.
I hope it was a really good experience for you all. It sounds like it was. Hopefully we'll see you again in the spring. And then if I can support in any way the promotion of what you're going to be doing, finding user testers for you all and helping out with the kind of, keeping this going at least until December and January, just reach out. Let me know how I can be of help for everyone. Right?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. Talk to you
Bye-bye.
later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.